Good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time it is. Welcome to AP European Crash Course History. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the Industrial Revolution and its impacts on European society. Taylor.
Oh,
Welcome
hi.
back to the world.
I'm Taylor. In this video, we will cover everything you need to know about the Industrial Revolution.
So what does industrialization mean?
Well, confused AP European history student, it's the development of industries in a country or region on a wide scale.
Could you translate that to English?
Basically, what he is saying is when a country goes through a stage when factory work becomes the norm and the economy is mostly dominated by factories.
Alright, so the Industrial Revolution was born in Great Britain after 1750. They emerged as Europe's first industrial power by some of the following key events unfolding pre-1750. And these are, 1. The agricultural revolution of the 18th century. 2. They were standing above rich lands filled with iron and coal that was essential to the manufacturing process. Taylor, take it from here.
The third reason is Parliament provided a stable government that passes laws protecting private property, which was favorable for the business's climate. Number 4 is a population boom that created a large labor pool. And 5 is the capital that was ready for investment in machines for factories.
Alright, so now we're going to bring in our special guest, Tristen. Tristen, take it from here.
The Industrial Revolution in Britain was mostly influenced by entrepreneurs who wanted new manufacturing methods of inventions not only improve efficiency but also safety.
So did they make bank?
Well, the infrastructure advantages in Britain that also helped rapid industrialization was bridges, canals, and roads.
Thank you, Tristen, for your words of wisdom. Now off to Cate with the technological changes.
So the very first step towards the Industrial Revolution in Britain occurred in its cotton textile industry.
What were they in charge of?
They were responsible for the creation of the modern factory in Britain. Some of the inventions that became vital for expansion and improved efficiency in these factories were the spinning jenny,
1768.
and James Watt's rotary engine that could spin and weave cotton,
1782.
The steam engine was very important to the Industrial Revolution. Created by James Watt, based upon Thomas Newcomen's steam pump, they needed more powerful and more efficient pumps to pump water out from the mines. By 1850, 7 out of 8 cotton machines were powered by steam engines.
The British iron industry was radically transformed during the Industrial Revolution. Medieval techniques of producing iron were still in use until Henry Court developed a system of puddling, in which coke was used to burn away impurities in pig iron to produce an iron of higher quality. A boom then ensued in the British iron industry. The 18th century witnessed an expansion of transformation of industries.
Pioneered the first steam locomotive on an industrial rail line in South Wales. The development of the railroads in the Industrial Revolution was important in increasing the British supremacy in civil and mechanical engineering. Bring in our special guest Tristen again here to talk more about factory life in the Industrial Revolution.
Alright, so I'm back. The factory became the chief means of organizing labor for the new machines. A new set of values established by factory owners during this era regulated the worker to harsh discipline and highly competitive wage labor. Women and children were prime workers for these factories. The rise of industrial factory systems affected the lives of workers who no longer owned economic production and could only sell their labor for a small wage. In 1851, the British organized the world's first industrial fair. It was housed in the Crystal Palace, which was a huge structure made entirely of glass and iron. About 6 million people visited the fair in 6 months. It displayed Great Britain's industrial wealth to the world.
We're back with limitations to industrialization.
And it looks like we have a question from Louie in Florida.
But they had to have some kind of limits, right?
Before the Industrial Revolution, Europe's economy was marked by the unwillingness of most economic actors to take any investment risks. One of the big reasons why Europe lagged behind England in industrialization was a lack of roads and basic transportation. Continental industrialization differed from Great Britain's in that the continent was dependent on joint stock investment banks. Joint stock investment banks operated on the basis of generating capital for business investment by creating savings accounts and actively seeking depositors from all ranks of society.
The Industrial Revolution in the United States took place on a large scale between 1800 and 1865, particularly in the eastern and northern parts of the country. The Industrial Revolution in the U.S. employed large numbers of women in factories, especially in textile mills. Go girls. Due to the physical size of the U.S., a good transportation system was essential to the industrialization process. By 1860, there was 27,000 miles of railroad track in the U.S. By 1860, 10% of the populations in cities had 70 to 80% of the wealth in the U.S. compared to Britain. American industrialization was a capital-intensive endeavor because they were a far larger pool of unskilled laborers in the U.S. They made bank. Bring Tristen back in to talk about the social impact of the Industrial Revolution.
Population increases had already begun in the 18th century, but they became dramatic in the 19th century. From 1715 to 1850, the population in Europe rose from 140 million to 266 million. The European population explosion of the 19th century was largely attributable to the disappearance of the famine from Western Europe. The Great Hunger was caused by a combination of ruthless British oppression of Ireland and Ireland's reliance on the potato for its diet. About half the population of Ireland relied on the potato almost exclusively for survival. In the summer of 1845, the potato crop in Ireland was struck by a fungus that turned potatoes black and inedible. Ireland was the only European country that had a declining population during the 19th century. Famine made worse in part due to English disregard for the problem and effective assistance to the suffering. To sum up, between 1845 and 1851, over 1 million Irish died of starvation and 2 million Irish migrated out of necessity to the U.S.
Tristen, for that insightful information.
Continue along with the social impact. Urbanization! So, in the first half of the 19th century, it was a phenomenon directly tied to industrialization. Urban life in the early 19th century can be best characterized as having filthy sanitary conditions, which were made worse by city authorities' denial of responsibility for public health. Streets were often used as sewers and open drains. Due to cities' inability to deal with human filth, cities during this era generally smelled horrible. Food was often adulterated without any government supervision. The Food and Drugs Act was finally passed in Britain in 1875. Prostitution and other criminal activities were rampant. Demographic changes that resulted in industrialization saw the new middle class move to the suburbs of cities to escape the urban poor.
And did you know
Did
the
I?
most prominent among the new industrial entrepreneurial class in the Industrial Revolution was the bourgeoisie class? Members of the new industrial and entrepreneurial class in the early 19th century were usually resourceful individuals with diverse social backgrounds. The early industrial entrepreneurial in Great Britain included a mercantile background, had to control single-handedly the entire factory, and had to expand constantly to feel secure. Aristocrats also became entrepreneurs during this time. By 1850, the kind of traditional entrepreneurship that had created the Industrial Revolution was declining. The age of large-scale corporative capitalism did not begin until the 1890s. The new industrial entrepreneurs came to amass such wealth and play an important role alongside the traditional landed elites of their society.
Here's Tristen. Back at ya.
This group of urban workers in the first half of the 19th century was composed of members of guilds. The new social classes of industrial workers in the early Industrial Revolution worked under terrible and dangerous conditions for incredibly long hours at the mercy of profit-maximizing bosses. They worked 12 to 16-hour workdays, half-hour breaks for lunch and dinner, 6 days a week with no job security or minimum wage. Both women and children were employed in large numbers in early factories and mines. By 1830, women and children made up 2/3 of the cotton industry's labor. The reasons for using children as a source of labor in the Industrial Revolution included children had an especially delicate touch as spinners of cotton. Children's smaller size made it easier for them to crawl under and work. Children represented a cheap labor supply, paid between 1/3 to 1/6 of what adults generally made. Treatment of children in factories were often brutal. Beatings had long been regarded as the best way to discipline children. Okay.
Cate back here with her new fixed glasses. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. Alright, so the Industrial Revolutions impacted standard of living in Europe in a variety of ways, including benefited the middle class in particular, led to much increased disparity between the richest and poorest in society, and eventually led to an overall increase in real wages. The newly created economies of the Industrial Revolution in Europe were often caught up in traditional economic cycles of expansion and contradiction. Periodic overproduction caused economic hardship. Depressions were particularly devastating in towns whose prosperity relied on one industry. Yes, please come in.
You random doorbell? Okay, let's continue. Workers looked to the formation of labor organizations to gain decent wages and working conditions, because who wants bad working conditions?
Right.
British government passed a series of combination acts in 1799 and 1800, outlawing associations of workers. Trade unions were formed by skilled workers in a number of new industries, including the cotton spinners, iron workers, coal miners, and shipwrights. Trade unions served two purposes. Uno dos. First, to preserve their own workers' position by limiting entry into their trade, and second, to gain benefits from the employers. Some trade unions were even willing to strike. Strikes caused Parliament to repeal the Combination Acts in 1824. Accepting the argument of some MPs who stated that the acts themselves caused labor unrest, which resulted in unions being tolerated in Great Britain. In the 1820s and 1830s, the union movement began to focus on the creation of national union.
The end!
Hello, and thank you for watching Crash Course AP European History. I'm here with Louie, filling in for Taylor at the moment. So, hello. So, for all you struggling AP European History students out there, because I watched this video. Okay. Have hope. There is faith. So, good night. Good morning.
day.
Good day. Have a nice life. See you next time.